In the heart of a small African village, there was a drought unlike any the villagers had ever seen. The skies had stayed clear for months, the fields turned to dust, and the river that once fed the village was reduced to a trickle. The people grew desperate, but no matter how many prayers they offered or rituals they performed, the rains did not come. Among the villagers was a young woman named Adisa. She was known for her laughter, her joy, and her kindness. Adisa had a loving family, a circle of close friends, and a deep connection to the land. She was one of the hardest workers in the village, always quick to help others despite her own struggles. But as the drought continued, Adisa's smile began to fade. She watched as her family's crops withered, as her mother's health weakened from lack of water, and as the children grew thin and quiet. The village elders whispered that if the rains didn't come soon, they might not survive another month. One night, unable to sleep, Adisa left her family's hut and wandered into the fields. The moon cast a silver glow over the barren land, and the silence was heavy as if the earth itself was holding its breath. She walked for what felt like hours, her thoughts dark and heavy, until she stumbled upon a strange sight. There, in the middle of the dried-up field, was an ancient well. She had never seen it before, and she was certain no one in the village had spoken of it. The well was surrounded by strange, twisting vines, and its stones were covered in ancient carvings that glowed faintly under the moonlight. Adisa approached the well cautiously, her heart pounding. The air around it was cool, a stark contrast to the dry heat that had plagued the village. She could feel a presence, something powerful and ancient, lingering around the well. As she leaned over the edge, she was surprised to see a small pool of water at the bottom. It was clear and shimmering, almost calling to her. She knew it was foolish, that drinking from a well she didn't know could be dangerous, but desperation clouded her judgment. Adisa's throat was dry, her body exhausted from weeks of rationing water. She couldn't resist. Slowly, she lowered a small cup into the well, filling it with the cool, clear water. She lifted it to her lips, hesitated for a moment, and then drank deeply. The water was unlike anything she had ever tasted. It was crisp, refreshing, with a sweetness that seemed to fill her entire being. As she drank, she felt a wave of relief wash over her, as if the water was restoring not just her body but her soul. But as she lowered the cup, a strange sensation crept over her. Her mind felt foggy, her memories slipping away like grains of sand through her fingers. She tried to hold on to them, to remember her family, her friends, her life in the village, but they were slipping, fading into darkness. Panic rose in her chest, and she gripped the edge of the well, trying to ground herself. But it was too late. Her name, her past, her very sense of self, all were disappearing, lost to the depths of the well. When she finally let go, she looked around, confused. She didn't know where she was or who she was. The village, the drought, her family, it was all gone from her mind, like a dream that fades upon waking. She wandered back to the village, her steps unsteady, her heart pounding with fear. As she entered the village, people stopped to stare at her, their faces a mix of relief and confusion. They called her name, but she didn't recognize it. They asked her questions, but she had no answers. Her family rushed to her, tears streaming down their faces, but she felt nothing. Their faces were strange to her, their voices unfamiliar. She looked at them with blank eyes, unable to remember the love she once felt for them. The village elders took her aside, trying to understand what had happened. But no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't remember anything. The well, the water, the drought, it was all gone from her mind, leaving only a hollow emptiness. Days passed, and the villagers tried everything to help her remember. They told her stories of her childhood, showed her familiar places, brought her favorite foods, but nothing worked. Her mind was like a blank slate, her memories lost to the depths of the cursed well. As time went on, Adisa began to feel a strange pull, a yearning she couldn't explain. It was as if something was calling to her, whispering to her in the dead of night. She couldn't understand it, but the feeling grew stronger with each passing day. One night, unable to resist the pull any longer, she returned to the well. The moon was full, casting a silvery glow over the land, and the air was thick with an eerie silence. She stood at the edge of the well, her heart pounding, her mind filled with a strange sense of familiarity. She peered into the well, and for a moment she saw her reflection staring back at her. But it wasn't the face she saw every day. It was the face of the woman she used to be, the woman who had a family, friends, a life filled with love and laughter. The sight filled her with a sense of longing, a deep ache that made her chest tighten. She reached out as if she could touch her reflection, as if she could pull her old self back from the depths of the well. But as her fingers brushed the surface of the water, the reflection shattered, replaced by darkness. The water rippled, and she felt a cold chill seep into her bones. She could feel the weight of her memories, the life she had lost, pulling at her, calling her back into the darkness. Adisa stumbled back, her mind racing. She knew she couldn't go back, couldn't reclaim the life she had lost. But she couldn't stay in the village either. She was a stranger among her own people, a ghost of the woman she used to be. With a heavy heart, she left the village, wandering into the unknown. She didn't know where she was going or what she would find. But she knew she had to leave to find a new life, a new purpose. And as she disappeared into the night, the villagers mourned the loss of the woman they had loved, the woman who had been taken by the cursed well. Her memory lived on in their hearts, a reminder of the dangers of tampering with forces beyond their understanding. Adisa wandered through villages and across fields, becoming a nameless traveler with no past and no direction. She moved from place to place, meeting people who welcomed her but always sensing that something was missing inside her. A piece of herself she could no longer grasp. Though she found work, made friends, and helped wherever she went, a hollow ache lingered in her heart, whispering that she didn't belong. One evening she arrived at a bustling market in a distant village, where merchants sold vibrant fabrics, sweet fruits, and rare spices. She watched the people move around her, laughing and bartering. A sense of familiarity crept into her mind, though she couldn't place why. Adisa felt the same strange pull that had led her to the cursed well, urging her deeper into the marketplace. Her steps took her to the edge of the market, where an old woman with deep lines on her face sat alone, her stall empty. The woman looked up as Adisa approached, her gaze piercing as if she could see beyond Adisa's face into her soul. Without a word, the woman gestured for her to sit. "Child, you carry a weight on your heart," the old woman said softly. "You seek something yet cannot remember what it is." Adisa's chest tightened. I feel like a part of me is lost. I have no past, no family, only shadows in my memory." The woman nodded, her eyes filled with understanding. "There is a way to reclaim what you have lost, but the path is treacherous. The well that took your memories holds a power older than this land, a power that binds those who seek it. If you wish to retrieve your memories, you must face the darkness that lies within the well. But beware, for it may demand more than you are willing to give." Adisa's heart raced. Fear gripped her, yet the thought of recovering her lost self stirred a fire within her. She had come too far, wandered too long to turn back now. The old woman handed her a small pouch filled with herbs and powders, her voice gentle but firm. "These will protect you on your journey, but they cannot restore what was taken. Only you can decide if you have the strength to reclaim what is rightfully yours." Adisa thanked the woman, and as the sun dipped below the horizon, she set off on her journey back to the well. Her feet carried her through dark forests and empty plains, her mind focused on the memories that lay just out of reach, hidden in the depths of the cursed well. Finally, she arrived at the well under a moonless sky, the air heavy with silence. She opened the pouch, sprinkling the herbs around the well's edge as the old woman had instructed. A faint, shimmering barrier formed around her, a fragile shield against the dark forces that lurked within the well. Taking a deep breath, Adisa leaned over the edge, staring into the black water. Her reflection stared back at her, hollow and empty, a ghost of the woman she once was. She spoke her name aloud, letting it echo into the depths. "Adisa." The water rippled, and a chill ran down her spine as she saw images flicker in the water. Her family, her friends, the village she had once called home. But as she reached out, the images twisted and faded, replaced by shadows that writhed and pulsed with a life of their own. A voice, ancient and cold, rose from the depths. "You seek what was lost, yet you do not understand the price. Memories are not merely stories, they are pieces of the soul. If you wish to reclaim them, you must give something in return. Adisa's heart pounded, but her resolve remained unshaken. What do you demand? The voice laughed, a sound that sent shivers through her bones. Your freedom. If you choose to take back your past, you will be bound to this well, a guardian of its secrets. Forever. Adisa hesitated, the weight of the choice pressing down on her. She could walk away, leave the well behind and continue her life as a wanderer. But the thought of living without her memories, without her family, was a fate worse than any binding. With trembling hands she nodded. I accept. The water surged and a wave of memories flooded her mind. Her mother's laughter, her father's strong embrace, the warmth of the village, the faces of her friends. Her heart swelled as the pieces of her life came rushing back, filling the hollow spaces that had haunted her for so long. But as the memories settled, she felt the weight of her choice. Her feet felt rooted to the ground, her soul tethered to the well. She could feel its pull, an invisible chain binding her to its ancient power. From that night onward, Adisa became the well's guardian, watching over it as the years passed. Travelers would come, drawn by the whispers of water during droughts, and she would guide them, warning them of the well's curse. Some listened, others did not. But each time she looked into the depths, she saw her own reflection, a reminder of the price she had paid to reclaim her past. Her story became a legend, a tale told by villagers who would warn their children never to seek power from the well. And as the generations passed, Adisa remained, a silent guardian bound to the cursed waters, her soul forever linked to the memories she had reclaimed, and to the well that had claimed her in return.